circuit, a street circuit in the middle of the city, and also a night race. That is going to be the headline of the series. We're waiting for race number 2 for the Indian F4 Championship to begin. We saw a stunner yesterday, and now we've got Cooper Webster on pole position. Now this grid, of course, is formed by a reverse grid of the top 6 from race number 1. And in P1 for the Chennai Turbo Riders is the Aussie Cooper Webster, followed by Rishabh Jain from Singapore. In P3, in his second ever car race, is Alex Sawyer, racing for the Blackbirds Hyderabad team, followed by Shahan Ali Mohsin, who got an inaugural podium in P4. Then in row 3, we've got Rishon Rajiv, who's P2 yesterday, starting in P5. And then the Grand Slam winner, Akshay Bora, in P6 for Godspeed Kochi, who dominated the proceedings and led every single lap yesterday. In P7, we've got Norris Gafford from Singapore, racing in only his second car race. And then Jack Taylor, similar scenario for him, he is in P8. And finally, to round off the grid, we have Rohan Madesh and Arjun Chheda, both of them having tricky races, the young Indian drivers, but they've got an immense amount of potential and they can't wait to show what they're made of when we go racing here today. So the cars have lined up on the grid. We're just waiting to see when the race begins. And let's talk about Alex Sawyer for a second. The Vietnamese is only 15. He's done tons and tons of go-karting around the world in many, many shifter karts as well. And only in his first car race yesterday, he was able to blow away the field and get a phenomenal result in P4. And the move that really sealed it for me was the one that he made on Rishabh Jain towards the end of the race when we had a phenomenal move down the inside. That speaks of a lot of karting experience that he's able to translate on. But Cooper Webster is the man to watch for today, because finally, Cooper has clean air. Yesterday in the race, he was not able to get lots of good running in because he had a terrible qualifying, unfortunately, in qualifying 1. And then when he got stuck in the dirty air, he really got stuck in there. Only finishing P6 after starting P9. But starting from pole position, there is a genuine opportunity for him to go out there and do something special. But so, let's quickly talk about the Indian Formula 4 Championship. What is this series? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? So, quite simply put, in the world of motorsport, you need a step up from go-karts to race cars. And in India, while we do have a couple of Formula 4 championships, they all race with 3-pedal cars. They have manual shifters and they have clutches, and they're not really in the same road to F1 category like these cars have. They don't have halos, they don't have front wings or rear wings. They're mostly really light and nimble 3-pedal cars. So that's not the perfect progression to go all the way up. That's the LGB Formula 4 I'm talking about. Otherwise, you've got the Formula 1600s and the Formula 2000s, which are incredible technologically advanced machines. But when you want to get to Europe, there is a big step between them and all the other race cars that you have right now. And for drivers like Shahan Ali Mohsin, when they want to make their journey to Europe to race in something like Formula 3, you need something quite like this, something that can help you have a benchmark, like a stepping stone to go from these race cars up towards that level. And the Indian Formula 4 Championship is just that. Yesterday, we had history being made. The inaugural Indian Formula 4 race ended like this. It wasn't a car race anymore. It felt like a powerboat race, because towards the last few minutes of the race, we had a proper storm coming in. But send in whatever. Send in a storm, send in the fastest drivers. You cannot face the winner, Akshay Bora, who dominated proceedings and was really able to show the world why he's so highly rated. Our in-house statistician, F1 Stats Guru, was able to pick out the fact that he scored a Grand Slam. He got pole position, led every lap, set fastest lap, and won the race as well. Also becoming not just the inaugural winner, but also the youngest winner of this championship at just 16 years old. There he is today, starting in P6 at this moment in time. And it's going to be a tricky challenge for him, because no longer can he have the opportunity to go into the clean air and dominate proceedings. Today, he's got to work really hard to overtake cars, which means it's going to be an entertaining race, because drivers like Akshay Bora, Rishon Rajiv, Shahan Ali Mohsin, they will have to properly fight their way up and get some positions made in. But that's Akshay Bora in P6. Some more context on him very, very quickly. Akshay Bora has been living alone with his brother without their parents in Italy since they were roughly, what, 12, 13 years old? These two guys have been committing so much of their lives to the world of motorsport. And they only see their mom and dad for like 3 or 4 times in the year because they're always away testing cars, going racing, working on their body, working on their mind to make sure that they are the best possible drivers. And when you see performances like we saw yesterday, you can tell that it makes a difference. Because in Italy, when you're surrounded by all those drivers, when you're surrounded by a racing atmosphere, you just end up becoming a better driver all the way through. And that is exactly what we saw from Akshay Bora. But I think the pressure's on him, to be very honest with you, because today he's got to make sure that he finishes in the podium places if he wants to win the championship. And it's going to be a tough task because he starts in P6. And the Madras International Circuit, it is the home of Indian motorsport, and it teaches you a lot about making good moves, because this track is very, very narrow. Yes, there are places to pass, like Raul Hyman showed us in that inaugural Indian Racing League race of the season when he passed John Lancaster around the outside. But it makes it very, very tricky to do so. You need to have supreme confidence in your abilities to make sure that you can make a move like that one. And that is what we're going to be seeing from the likes of Akshay Bora, from the likes of not Ruhan Alva, force of habit, but from the likes of Akshay Bora, from the likes of Rishon Rajiv, and also Shahan Ali Mohsin, our 3 podium sitters from yesterday. But also in the meantime, I want to talk to you about the likes of Arjun Chheda and Rohan Madesh. Both of them also getting their careers beginning in the world of car racing. They've done lots of karting, lots of shifter cars, lots of Rotax as well, where they've really honed their technique and their mechanical knowledge of their cars. But getting up into car racing is something else. It's a lot more physical. You've got to be a lot more aware about data, working with the engineers, working with the mechanics, and also dealing with the crucial part of the game, which is dirty air. Now, normally that doesn't happen in karting. You're all so close to each other that it doesn't make a major difference. But when you're doing a Formula car race, when aerodynamics really make a difference, you've got to watch out for aspects like that one. And that's going to be the learning for the likes of Arjun Chheda and Rohan Madesh today. Can they survive the dirty air and make sure they get some really good moves done on all the other drivers in this second race of the season? So the cars have lined up on the grid. The format is going to be very, very simple. 25 minutes plus 1 lap in this second Indian F4 race of the day. And we will begin with a standing start. That is going to be the most fun part. So while the Indian Racing League cars go for a rolling start, the Indian Formula 4 cars have to go for a standing start, which means they've got to hold the clutch on the steering wheel and drop it when the lights go green. And that is a genuine challenge, because remember, you don't quite have to do that in karting. And a lot of these kids are coming in directly from the world of go-karting into their first ever Formula car race. Can they nail the starts down? Can they make sure that the car doesn't quite stall? Can they make sure they get the perfect run-up and they're able to lay down all the power onto the grid? A quick word on the cars, very quickly before we begin. These are Miguel Formula 4 cars, 1.3-litre turbo engines that they've got right here. They've got a halo for the safety structure. They've also got a carbon fiber monocoque that protects them from all these crashes. And the important part here is, it's a turbo. The power delivery is not 100% linear, and it's never going to be in the world of single-seater racing as it is in karting. So the drivers also have to learn that, the throttle management. Have they got the right amount of throttle inputs to get the maximum power at the maximum place? Because otherwise, you're going to be losing lap times everywhere. Cars, of course, developed by Miguel and run by MP Motorsport. And MP Motorsport, well, what can I tell you about them? They're a historic racing team. We've got many, many young drivers in their pipelines. Drivers like Felipe Drugovich, drivers like Jehan Daruwala, India's brightest Formula One hope. Drivers like Dennis Hauger as well. Incredible competitors who are developed really well in the structure that MP Motorsport offers. And they've got tons of engineers, tons of data mechanics, tons of people working with the car, not just to enhance the car's performance, but also to teach the drivers a lot about the technical side of the game, which you need to do to make sure that you get the best results. And part of Indian Formula 4 is also learning. Because remember, these drivers and these kids are on their journey to higher Formula classes. So a lot of it is about learning how the car performs, learning how to work with the mechanics, learning how to work with the data. That's going to be fun for all these drivers. Green flag in the air, the cars are out for their formation lap. They'll be doing 1 lap to warm up their tires, and they will be back on the grid for a standing start right here. Can't wait to see how things play out eventually for this second Indian Formula 4 race. And yes, I know I'm being a broken record when I say this, but can we all just take a second to appreciate this moment? The fact that we have a championship like the Indian Formula 4 in India. We have been dreaming of a series that can provide a stepping stone to drivers not just in India, but also in Asia, to go from go-karts to the road to Formula 1. And this really helps fast-track that journey when you're learning so much about data, so much about the technicalities of the car, so much about racing with a halo on, so much about driving a single-seater car to the limit. These are invaluable learnings as these drivers make their way into the higher echelons of Formula racing. And genuinely, what you're witnessing, folks, is a historical moment as we see the second ever Indian Formula 4 race in history. So Cooper Webster in pole position. He's done lots of British Formula 4 racing in the past. He's done lots of Formula 4 racing in Australia as well. Tons and tons of sim racing with some of the top teams out there, including Red Bull Esports, which are a big name. So there's a big chip on Cooper Webster's back, but can he deliver today after an unfortunate Saturday? He had, let's just put it this way, a bad qualifying. He didn't quite perform to the level that he would have liked to do, and he has the potential to do as well, as we have seen in free practice. But he recovered decently well. But this is also a big part of the learning for a young driver like him. Can he get the mental composure sorted out? Can he be in the right frame of mind to bounce back from a difficult Saturday to have a really good Sunday? For someone who's just 18 years old, that is going to be a phenomenal learning going ahead in the world of motorsport. And I can't wait to see how he performs at that. So 25 minutes plus 1 lap for this Indian Formula 4 race. The cars are lining up right here at the Madras International Circuit, a highly technical place where passing is tricky, but the drivers learn a lot about making sure that the car goes well through a corner. And it's an old school circuit. If you look at the shots around the circuit, lots and lots of green grass, which means that if you go out there, it's going to be tricky to come back in. So accuracy and precise measurement for the drivers, an important point. Can they be on the track and have a really clean start? Here we go then. The cars have lined up on the grid. Cooper Webster is in pole position with Rishabh Jain, both the Chennai Turbo Riders cars in P1 and P2 at their home race. 25 minutes plus 1 lap. This time for race number 2 in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. The 5 red lights shine up. And away we go for race 2 of the Indian Formula 4 Championship. It is a phenomenal start for Cooper Webster as they all bunch up heading towards turn number 1. Cooper in B number 1, but we're getting to see a big move on the inside by Alex Sawyer as he tries to get up into B number 2. Watch out for turn 2 here. Alex Sawyer might just go down the inside, but I think he's been passed by someone. Lots of chaos in the background, a car back there in the grass. I suspect that might just be Rohan Madesh, unfortunately, but we shall wait and see. But an incredible battle ongoing for B number 3 at this moment in time. It is Rishabh Jain fighting against, hang on a second, is that Rishabh Rajiv? That surely can't be. That is a phenomenal start from Rishabh. Going in from P5 to P3 suddenly. Incredible racing action. But in the background, both the co-ISS cars are going head-to-head with each other. That's Arjun Chheda and Jack Taylor. Both of them in their second car race of their life, bringing in tons and tons of karting experience to this one. And it's going to be chaos all the way through. But touch wood, most of the drivers maintaining it cleanly. Unfortunately, the car we saw in the grass right there was Norris Gafoor. A tough start for the Singaporean, but hopefully he can bounce back from that as we see a lockup heading in towards the second sector of the circuit. So a brilliant start for Cooper Webster as he has survived it and he is driving with a 1.8 second gap heading towards the final couple of corners. But watch out for Rishabh Rajiv. I mean, that was a stunning start from him. He started in P5, took to the inside line and has moved his way up into P3 already. And this is going to be phenomenal for him because while Rishabh Rajiv is in P3, Alex Sawyer is holding back not just Akshay Bora but also Shahan Ali Mohsin, two of the main competitors for the title, along with Rishabh and Cooper Webster. And this means that Rishabh can just focus on attacking Rishabh Jain at this moment in time. An important thing for him because he's got clean air in front of him if he can get past Rishabh at this moment in time. It is imperative for him to do so because once that happens, it could just be a straight fight between Cooper Webster and Rishabh Jain. But Rishabh can't take too long to make this move here because if he does, it means that Cooper Webster could run away and crucially, Alex Sawyer, Akshay Bora and Shahan Ali Mohsin will be back in the fight. And one really interesting story to track in this race is going to be how can Rishabh Jain sustain the pressure? Because yesterday, after that safety car restart, he buckled a little bit, he made a slight error, which allowed Alex Sawyer to get a phenomenal P4 in that first race yesterday. But so far, he's holding on to it very well, the Singaporean driver. So coming towards the end of the backstretch, this could be a chance for a big overtake. Rishabh Rajiv has made contact. He's hit the back of Rishabh Jain's car. That might be a broken front wing or two. Rishabh Jain has gone into the grass. He's losing control. That might just be race over. That might just be a penalty for Rishabh. And we have a broken front wing. For who? Is that Alex Sawyer? Oh no! The 15-year-old from Vietnam having a phenomenal performance yesterday now has a broken front wing after that crazy moment at the end of the back straight. We thought that Rishabh might just be able to make a clean move, but he hasn't. Quick look at the replay. He has hit the back of Rishabh Jain's car. Oh, that is painful. Rishabh was doing so well to be in the podium positions. But that is an entire race ruined. So in terms of the physical damage, it doesn't seem like Rishabh Rajiv has a lot on his car. But I'll be honest, I don't think the stewards are going to be treating this very lightly. But remember, these are young drivers learning their craft underneath the speculation and the pressure of the Indian F4 Championship live broadcast. So they will make mistakes like this as they develop on their journey and become better drivers. But clearly, they need to learn how not to make mistakes like that. And my heart goes out to Rishabh Jain because yesterday, he ended up losing P4 to a phenomenal drive from Alex Sawyer. Today, that's a potential podium loss right there with that contact made right now. And I just want to see how he bounces back from it mentally because that must be such a big blow to your heart and mind. His last lap time, 3 seconds slower than all the drivers in front of him. Poor old Rishabh Jain, what can I say about that? But this just means that Akshay Bora has an even greater chance of going out there and fighting for some of the top steps on the podium. Because now, even though he started in P6, Akshay Bora, thanks to all the chaos and his also great driving from his side, has made his way up into P3 at this moment in time. And his eyes are very firmly set on one Rishabh Rajiv. Following the battle in the background, it's Norris Gafoor who is now closing up to Jack Taylor. Both these drivers, remember, racing in Formula cars for the first time in their life. They've done a little bit of testing here and there, but have never ever been part of a race quite like this one, apart from yesterday where they were racing in a Formula car for the first time in their life. And so it's lots of learning for them. They're just getting up to build up the speed, understand how consistent they can be. Because more than anything, if you are consistent in this championship, you will get to learn so much about how the car behaves. And that's what you need to be a good driver. A big move down the inside from Jack Taylor on Alex Sawyer. That is a great one. Alex Sawyer driving with a broken front wheel, and it's double whammy as Jack Taylor now tries to go around the outside. He has gotten it done. So firstly, Arjun Chheda in the white helmet car, the number 23, getting a really confident move on Alex Sawyer. And now Jack Taylor, the Aussie, also making a move. It's going from bad to worse though for Alex Sawyer. He is now almost being passed by the Singaporean Norris Gafoor. And clearly the broken front wheel is impacting his car. It's scraping all the way through. And yeah, it's just grinding the car out, not able to carry as much pace as possible. And that's also a learning for someone like Alex Sawyer, who's only just 15. But it will be a frustrating learning, as this is clearly out of his control. He is such a quick driver, Alex. He is so good when you put him in a kart and a race car as well. But yeah, now he's got to learn how to deal with a situation like this. It goes from bad to worse for the Vietnamese. But can Norris Gafoor go ahead and make a clean move right here? Clearly, Alex's car is not in 100% condition. It's broken up to pieces and he's making a lock-up as well as he scrapes through the circuit. But can Norris Gafoor make the move quick enough? He's got decent pace, Norris, actually. He's been pretty consistent in practice and just wants to get in more track time right here. But if he can get past Alex Sawyer, it'll be a big confidence booster, as when you have clear air in front of you, you can go ahead and post some really clean lap times. But let's focus on the guy in P1, shall we? Normally when racing drivers say, do you want to have a really entertaining race starting from the back and going to P1, or do you want to have a really boring one where you dominate and just don't come on the camera? 99% of the good racing drivers will say, I want to have a boring one where I don't appear on the camera. Because domination is a sweet, sweet drug, and Cooper Webster is experiencing it big time right here at the Madras International Circuit, leading at the moment in time by roughly 5 seconds. And that is a stunning, stunning drive from him so far, and really benefiting from the reverse grid at this moment in time, because Cooper Webster, yes, he's done lots of British F4. Yes, he's tested a lot in Formula 4 cars in Australia. Yes, he knows what Formula 4 cars generally behave like. But these cars are unlike any F4 cars that he's raced with before. So lots of learning and unlearning for him to do. And it's incredible how he wasn't able to get a good qualifying, but his lap times and pace right now is some of the fastest that we've seen in this championship at this moment. In fact, Cooper Webster only a couple of tenths of a second slower on average than Rishad Rajiv, who's catching him as well. But do we have enough time? 17 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Lots and lots of battles to watch, including this one between Alex Sawyer and Norris Gafford for P9 in the championship. Here we go, then making a move down the inside is Norris Gafford. Nicely done, very, very cleanly. Yes, Alex Sawyer has a broken car. Yes, his front wing is misaligned, and he may potentially get a black flag with an orange disc, which means that he might be called in for technical repairs. But that was a cleanly done move by Norris Gafford, who now moves up into P9. But yeah, bad luck for the Hyderabad Blackbirds driver, Alex Sawyer, who was P4 yesterday. And a fun fact about him, Alex is very, very technical, very quiet, works a lot with the engineers, very focused on what he does. And yeah, he's coming to the pit lane now, unfortunately, because his car is broken with the front wing. A quick look at that move that Norris Gafford made back at that final hairpin. Alex understands what's happening, clearly lets him go past. Norris says, thank you very much, my friend. I will move ahead into P9. But no, a word on Alex Sawyer at this moment in time. He's actually driving with not a fully recovered wrist. He had a very, very big crash when he was karting back in the day, sometime last year. And his wrist isn't quite in the perfect position. It got dislocated when he had major contact and had his hands on the steering wheel. So when he turns it towards the left, his wrists are not 100%. It still pains a little bit when he's driving the car because his hands are not fully recovered yet. But even then, he was able to make such a good move on Rishabh Jain yesterday, who himself, in fact, has been played with bad luck this morning. We saw that incident earlier today when Rishad Rajiv tripped the back of Rishabh Jain's car and took him away from podium contention. And my heart really goes out to him. I mean, Rishabh was so good at the start of the race, taking off all the right lines, blocking off all the moves possible to make sure that he could get a podium. But such is life, such is racing. Can he bounce back now? On your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, is Cooper Webster from Australia. Cooper Webster, as I mentioned earlier, didn't quite have the best qualifying yesterday, but the Aussie, with tons of experience, putting it to use, putting all of his sim racing experience handy as well. Make sure that he gets a good run in right here. And we have a battle. Arjun Chheda and Jack Taylor, both the youngsters, both 15-year-olds actually, going up against each other and going head-to-head. In fact, these two have to be two of the youngest drivers in the entire championship, with Arjun, funnily enough, only getting his racing license around 10 to 12 days ago because he had his birthday that earlier. And remember, if you're not 15 years old, you're not allowed to compete in a category like this one. So amazing that these two young drivers are getting, firstly, lots of seat time, are getting lots of time with great engineers at MP Motorsport, and are also able to fight each other to understand what good racecraft is like. Now, Arjun Chheda, one of India's primary karting drivers, he's competed a lot at the national level in road taxes as well, won tons and tons of races, and whoever you speak to on the grid has a good thing to say about his composure. He might just be a 15-year-old kid, but already at the age of 11, he knew how to pack his own bags, how to manage his own laundry, how to travel on his own, how to work with the engineers, how to go racing, what he needs to do to make sure that he's physically fit as well. He's a very, very driven driver who's committed towards making it to the very top in the world of motorsport. And now we're getting to see his commitment on track as he fights it out with his teammate, Jack Taylor. on screen right now are the engineers from MP Motorsport who are making this championship happen, and they've given a phenomenal car to Cooper Webster, who is now really reveling in the confidence that he has with it. Yesterday in free practice and qualifying, Cooper was a little messy. In fact, his lap times were far, far away from what we have right now today. But right now, he set in one of the fastest lap times of the day, a 1 minute 37.027, which is easily a second faster than what we had in his qualifying lap yesterday. So good progression from Cooper Webster. And as it stands, he'll be very, very satisfied with the way things are going. Well, let's talk about Akshay Bora for a second, shall we? Akshay Bora, the Grand Slam winner, the youngest and the only race winner in Indian Formula 4 history yesterday, is closing up the gap on Rishon Rajiv and Cooper Webster, but unfortunately, not by a lot. His lap times on his pace are literally the same as what Cooper Webster is clocking in as well. So there's not a lot of time changing happening over there. And Rishon Rajiv, believe it or not, is clocking in lap times that are a tenth of a second faster than what Akshay Bora are doing. In fact, Rishon Rajiv currently with the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 36.852, putting in some tremendously consistent lap times to find himself in P2. But that gap isn't enough. I mean, Rishon Rajiv has to go faster by around a second or two per lap to make sure that he can close out to Cooper Webster. But the thing I find so incredible is that all these drivers are just within 1/10 of a second of their lap times. Rishon Rajiv, Cooper Webster and Akshay Bora. As it stands, it'll be tricky to see the gap change unless someone makes a major error. But I love how they're so consistent and they are so close to each other in the grand scheme of things. But let's focus on this battle. So close in terms of lap time between Arjun Chheda and Jack Taylor as well. Both of them, their best lap separated by just 4 thousandths of a second. That's how close they are to each other. And they have very differing journeys. Arjun Chheda having a lot more track time in karting in comparison to Jack Taylor. He's been doing it since lockdown and has 3-4 years of kart racing. Whereas Jack Taylor, the Aussie from Tasmania, he's only started racing last year in August. Can you believe it? He was not racing cars at all until just a year and a half ago. And it's amazing to see the progression that he's showcasing right now. And funnily enough, he and his dad used to do lots of dirt track racing around their local track nearby. But in their backyard, they just built a dirt track and they just go buggy racing, practice cars, just have a little bit of fun. Until Jack one day said, "Dad, can I go go-kart racing?" And his dad said, "Yes, of course you can." And here we are then with that journey translating into a really good performance in the inaugural Indian Formula 4 Championship. And let's talk about pace, shall we? Pace is good. Pace is very decent, very consistent for all the drivers right now. We've had 14 odd minutes done in this race, and I see that the leaders are clocking in low 1 minute 37s. It's Cooper Webster with the low 1 minute 37 with 1 minute 37.252, and the other drivers also nearby. The fastest driver on track as it stands in the last lap was Akshay Bora with a 1 minute 37.084. But I'll tell you what, the performances I find really impressive are firstly one from Rishabh Jain, who's clocking in a 1 minute 38.089. Very good considering the qualifying that he had early on. And also Shahan Ali Mohsin in 1 minute 37.944 as he currently stands P4 for the Blackbirds Hyderabad team. For context, Shahan and Rishabh are around a second slower than Cooper Webster, Rishon Rajiv and Akshay Bora. But remember, track time is also one thing, and neither of these drivers have had the best testing so far. So very impressive what they're doing with the cars at this moment in time. 10 minutes to go for the end of this race. 10 minutes plus 1 lap. And folks, if you've got any questions for us, send them in on the YouTube chat. We would love to answer them for you live on the stream. If you're just joining us, welcome to the second ever race of the Indian Formula 4 Championship. My name is Somal Arora and you're watching a fantastic battle for P7 between young Arjun Chheda and Jack Taylor, both of them racing for the Goa Aces team. So while we have a little bit of time as we watch this battle, let me tell you more about the structure of this championship. What are we racing for? Why are we doing this? Now, we've got 6 teams in the Indian Racing League. Firstly, we've got the 2 teams that are both these drivers are competing for, the Goa Aces. As we see Jack Taylor making a little bit of an error and seeing the rear end of the car sliding a little bit. But Arjun and Jack are racing for the Goa Aces. We've got Rishabh Jain and Cooper Webster racing for the Chennai Turbo Riders. We've got Rishon Rajiv and also another driver who's meant to be here but isn't quite racing for Speed Demons Delhi. And Shan Ali Bose and Alex Soy racing for Blackbirds Hyderabad. Norris Kapoor and Rohan Malaysh racing for the and racing for the Bangalore Speedsters team. So we've got 6 teams divided in. All these drivers aren't quite racing in a team's championship. They're all classifying points individually, but eventually all their points also get added in to a grander teams championship, where it's going to be Goa Aces versus Chennai Turbo Riders, or Blackbirds Hyderabad versus Godspeed Kochi. And eventually, we will add them up as we see people coming into the grandstands to watch the incredible action right here and to cheer on for the home team, Chennai Turbo Riders. So all these 6 teams are technically competing against each other, but it's not like Formula One. They don't have separate engineers. I mean, they do have separate engineers working on data for both their drivers, but it's not a different car. It's a 100% spec series, with the setup of the car also being the same all across. All the parts between all the drivers and all the teams is 100% same. So they are teams, but only nominally. Largely for the drivers, the most important point for them is the action on track, because in the grand scheme of things, they are working towards getting towards Formula 3, working towards getting into Formula 2 and Formula 1, and that's what they want to do. There, you've got to work with the teammate towards data, but not as much. And that's why all these drivers focusing a lot on their individual performances. And if they win this, they get 12 super license points, which is crucial for their journey up the Formula 1 ladder. Right now we're focusing on the battle for P2. It is Rishon Rajiv versus Akshay Bora. And a fun story, Akshay Bora and Rishon Rajiv, they finished P1 and P2 respectively in the first ever Indian Formula 4 race yesterday. And to answer the question from Alex de Mello, how much does it cost to race for a season? It's a very variable answer, but you can say anywhere around the €100,000 mark easily. But it's still much, much cheaper than racing abroad when you go to China or racing in UAE F4 or something quite like that, because the costs are much lower in Indian Formula 4, and there's a lot that you can learn as well as a driver in this championship. So it's a great stepping stone for all these drivers. Drivers like Akshay Bora and Rishon Rajiv. 5 minutes left to go, plus 1 lap in this second race of the season. And Akshay Bora got a grand slam yesterday. He got pole position, led every lap, set fastest lap and won. And there is a reason for that. Akshay Bora races not just in the Italian Formula 4, but also in the European Formula 4 Championship, where he has taken so many podiums. He's managed by the same management agency that manages Lando Norris as well. So he's a talent that's really being looked out for the future. But while he's got so much track time in Formula 4 cars, Rishon Rajiv is the exact opposite. He's done a little bit of UAE Formula 4, yes. He has tested and competed for the Ferrari Driver Academy, Rishon Rajiv, but he's not done lots and lots of racing since his Indian Racing League stint last year. In fact, Rishon Rajiv in that number 25 Speed Demons Delhi car only got to know that he was racing in this championship on Friday. He was sitting back home in Bangalore on Thursday night, and his dad called him and asked, "Hey, Rishon, do you want to race in the Indian F4 Championship?" And Rishon said, "Dad, I've got an exam on Monday morning, but I think we will do it." And here he is right here at the Madras International Circuit, firstly getting a podium yesterday and on course to get yet another P2 as he clocks in a fastest lap of the race as well. And then Cooper Webster is in P1. From Australia, Cooper has done lots of British Formula 4. He's a very precise and particular driver who's very consistent and knows how to manage his emotions very, very well, which is essential because yesterday, after a terrible day of racing and a bad qualifying as well, Cooper, given the clean air, has bounced back incredibly well to score potentially a big win, but he's still got time left, so let's wait and watch at that. So amazing how the stories are so different to each other, where we have Rishon Rajiv being highly unprepared, Akshay Bora being very prepared, but the lap times being very, very similar. But still, I find it amazing how instinctive Akshay Bora is. You give him the data about the car, you tell him about what's happening in the race, and he'll instantly know what he has to do better. He's a very smart driver, and his elder brother Nikhil Bora is somewhat similar. He's a little more technical in that regard, a little more technical in terms of how to work the car out, Nikhil Bora that is, and he's also racing for the Godspeed Kochi team in the Indian Racing League races that are also going to come up later today. But Akshay Bora, very street smart, knows how to work with the mechanics, knows how to tinker his car just that little bit more to get the final edge off it. And is very socially smart as well. So he understands the body language of his competitors and how to race against each other. He's a lovely chap, Akshay. He loves to sing, loves to play the piano. He's a very, very entertaining one. He'll always be cracking jokes and always wants to be in the midst of a conversation. But when he has to focus on racing, he is a completely different person. Very hardworking, very focused, very determined to get everything done. And it's incredible to see that reflecting in his results as well. And you can say something similar for Rishon Rajiv as well. The youngster from Bangalore is somewhat similar actually. He's very focused, he's incredibly fit. In fact, when he went to the Ferrari Driver Academy test in Malaysia, he was one of the fittest drivers out there from the entire lot. So his focus and commitment towards his racing is unbelievable. And he's shown that a lot in all the Indian races, in the Formula 1600s that he's done, and also in the Indian Racing League for Bangalore Speedsters, where he got multiple pole positions, beating drivers that were almost double his age last year. But he has 2 minutes to go plus 1 lap, and we've got lots and lots of questions on YouTube as well. Is there an Indian F3 class where the winner of this championship can move up? Is a question asked by Leeds fan. Not so much yet, unfortunately. For Formula 3, all these drivers will mostly progress to the UAE F3 or the Asian Formula 3 Championship, or potentially even go to Europe. But sooner or later, as we have more and more drivers develop, and more drivers use this structure that the Indian F4 provides, we might see drivers like Akshay Bora or Rishon Rajiv potentially even create the need for an Indian Formula 3 Championship later on in the future. So a minute and a half plus 1 lap left to go. We have got a tremendous battle for P2. These drivers, the average age of them is just 16 to 17 years old. That's right. I think the only driver road legal to drive a car on the road in India is going to be Shahan Ali Mohsin technically. And also Rishabh Jain, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, all these drivers, roughly 18, 17, most of them in fact, like Alex Sawyer, Alex Sawyer is 15, Jack Taylor is 15, Arjun Cheda is 15, Rohan Mandesh I think is 16 years old as well. All of these drivers are so young. But you can tell that the age difference has an impact, because Cooper Webster being 18, you can tell he's got a lot more track time. You can tell he's a lot more prepared in comparison to a lot of these other drivers. And the lap times really confirm that. He's going super quick. His last lap time was a 1 minute 37.3, which is just about the same pace as Rishon Rajiv and Akshay Bora. In fact, he's gone a tenth faster than that. The fastest lap time of this race has been clocked in by Rishon Rajiv. Tremendous raw pace, but Rishon in P2 is under a lot of pressure. I think as we come to the final 20 seconds of this race, plus 1 lap, we should focus on this phenomenal fight for P2 that we're going to get in these last couple of laps. It's going to be Rishon Rajiv versus Akshay Bora. They were P1 and P2 yesterday in the main race, and they're just separated by 0.4 of a second at the moment. This could just end up being the closest margin that we've ever seen between 2 race finishers of the entire championship's history. That's that, courtesy of F1 Stats Guru. But guys and girls, this will just end up being the second last lap of this race. And you can see how the grip is wearing out. All the drivers sliding out there as the marbles start to appear on the outside lines of the circuit. Can Cooper Webster hold it in? He's only got a couple of laps left to go. And yes, these drivers are working with lots of driver coaches, guiding them about the techniques. And all the coaches will be talking to them about moments like this, the pressure moments, where you're battling for P2 and P3 in the race. A lot of the driver coaches, yes, they talk a lot about the techniques of the car, they talk a lot about the technical side of things, but 90% of the game is psychology. And the race engineers, their parents, their driver coaches will all be building them up to moments like this. Has Akshay Bora got enough in the bag to make a big move on Rishon Rajiv to get P2 on the last lap of the race? Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time that we all stand up and watch the action, because this is going to be a photo finish. Only 1/10 of a second separating Rishon Rajiv and Akshay Bora as we head towards the final lap of the second Indian F4 race in history. Yesterday, it was Akshay Bora who had the upper hand on Rishon Rajiv. Today, Rishon having track position, but he is being made to work very hard by the driver competing in Indian F4. Akshay, only 16 years old and doing magic on the track. Rishon, one of the youngest Indian drivers at around 19, getting tons and tons of raw pace and finally converting that into a great performance. But can he seal the deal? His toughest challenge of the race so far is just about to come. Akshay Bora in his mirrors, pressurizing him right down to the end of the race. But while this happens, Cooper Webster is living it in. He has managed to pull out a 6-second gap as we see the fighting in the background. Oh yes, Cooper Webster is having a tremendous day in Chennai so far. But as we come to the final sector of the circuit, let's focus on this battle. Only 3 to 4 more corners left to go. You can see by the body language of the car that Rishon Rajiv is losing grip. He's not got enough grip left anymore. And can Akshay Bora capitalize on that? Can there be one kamikaze move for him to steal P2 as we come to the final couple of corners? The battle for P2, that might go out to the final corner, but for P1, rise and shine, Cooper Webster. This is your moment. P1 for the Aussie as he takes a home win for the Chennai Turbo Riders in the second ever Indian F4 race. And it's almost a photo finish. Rishon Rajiv taking home P2 and finishing ahead of yesterday's race winner Akshay Bora. But guys and girls, stand up and applaud for Cooper Webster. He's led every lap of this race and has taken in a dream win. A 17-lap classic won by Chennai Turbo Riders Cooper Webster, who finally has his first win in this category. What a drive. He never looked uncomfortable. Yes, he got pole position thanks to the reverse grid. Yes, he has been benefited a lot by the fighting between Rishon Rajiv and Akshay Bora, but you've got to get the drive done. You've got to make sure that you're very consistent and don't end up making any mistakes. And you've got to make sure that your lap times are super fast. And Cooper Webster, well, he was flying. Your second race winner of the season, Cooper Webster, ladies and gentlemen, is a winner in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. What a drive by the young Aussie. And behind him we have Rishon Rajiv taking his second P2 finish in this championship. In fact, F1 Stats Guru has told us that he's taken back-to-back P2 finishes in the Indian F4 Championship. And I wonder what the championship order will look after that. And yes, back-to-back podiums for Akshay Bora as well, who started P6 and has recovered in a very, very good drive to finish P3. And also, same can be said for Rishon Rajiv as well, gaining 3 positions, starting in P5 to finish in P2. A great drive for both these youngsters as they have an exhibition drive and they put up a phenomenal show for every single one watching. What a race as we see Cooper Webster peel in towards the pit lane to celebrate his big win. Oh, this is a moment for him to live in. Cooper Webster, only born in 2003, he's only just 20 years old of age. Yes, he's older than a lot of the drivers competing in this championship, but the experience is clearly showing for the Aussie, translating all of his sim racing and British Formula 4 experience to get a big win to open his account in the Indian F4 Championship. So 25 points for Cooper Webster as he wins this big race in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. Here he comes, climbing out of the car to celebrate a big one. There we are then, the emotions on display. Cooper Webster, your second winner of the Indian Formula 4 Championship. And just like Ruhan Alva, he's very calm about this. It's like he expected this win. He knows deep down how good of a driver he is. Not even breaking a sweat. What a guy Cooper Webster is. Very, very physically fit. And look at him. He can finally break out a smile now. Yeah, totally normal. You just win a race every single day. That's just exactly what Cooper Webster does for a living. But a phenomenal second race in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. We're going to have more interviews soon as we get to hear from Cooper Webster, Rishon Rajiv, and also Akshay Bora. But folks, if you've got any questions for us on the YouTube chat, we'll be happy to answer them for you as we introduce you and all the drivers and all the fans as well to the inaugural Indian Formula 4 Championship. But yes, Cooper Webster, as now pointed out by Aditya on the YouTube stream, is a GB4 and Indian Formula 4 winner as well. Quite an achievement considering the competition in both these championships. But now we've got 2 races done in the Indian F4 Series. Great to see all the action, great to see all the drivers being developed and also getting better with their lap times as the car peel into the pit lane. We're going to have one more Indian Formula 4 race today. That's going to be having the grid set up from the second qualifying session that we had earlier on yesterday. That's going to come in later on in the afternoon. And in that race, it's going to be Akshay Bora in pole position, Rishon Rajiv in second, Alex Oyer in third. But now, why don't we go down to Niharika, who is with Cooper Webster, your race winner for race 2.
Fantastic win, Cooper. Can you tell us what it felt like?
Yeah, really good. I got a good start, clean start, led from the very beginning and then just put my head down and tried to be as consistent as possible. So no, I'm very happy with the performance. I didn't make any mistakes and I think I drove decent.
Oh, you have a wealth of simulator experience with Red Bull and esports. How does it translate on track?
There's few things that translate, you know, like the preparation, the work that goes into sim racing. You know, you use the same sort of mental strength that you develop from that to work hard in this racing. So, yeah, apart from the techniques, I mean, the techniques don't translate, but yeah, just a few things with working with the team, and then, yeah, just always being on something and driving.
What did you do differently today that you couldn't pull off yesterday?
Well, we got some tyres at work today. So yeah, yesterday we had a tyre issue where one fell apart and then the other one was really old. So today we got some tyres that worked, and then that's what I should have been able to do yesterday.
Thank you, Cooper. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Love to see the smile on Cooper Webster's face as he wins the second race of the Indian Formula 4 season. Great to see him so calm. And yes, he said that the sim racing experience helps out, but it's all about driving. And that's what the Indian Formula 4 Championship is all about. It doesn't just act as a great pathway for the Indian drivers, but also as a phenomenal winter championship for drivers like Akshay Bora, who would normally be competing in Europe in the summer. So good for them to go out there and compete right here. And yes, on the tyres, well, they have 4 sets of tyres for the entire weekend, so they'll be using new ones for the final race. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun to listen to all the drivers and what they have on their mind at the end of a race like this one. So then, race 2 is done. We've got Akshay Bora in P2, followed by Rishon Rajiv. Akshay Bora in P3, followed by Rishon Rajiv in P2. And yeah, we have Akshay Bora at the moment in time. Finishing in P3, he's standing by with Niharika.
Another podium, Akshay. What is?
Yeah, I think it was honestly a great race. It was slightly difficult on the start. You know, I went for a gap, but it quickly closed up. And then, yeah, even in the second corner, also was a bit optimistic, and I gained a position. But then, yeah, after that, you know, just managed our own race. Made a few positions in the second lap, and yeah, towards the end I was catching Rishon, but I don't think I caught enough, you know, to make the move. But I think nonetheless, a good result.
How can you summarize your weekend, given that you won the race yesterday and another podium today?
Yeah, I think the weekend has almost been perfect. You know, we've had double pole, a win in race 1, and a P3 in race 2. So coming into the last race, you know, we're starting from pole again, so that's another good opportunity. But I think, regardless, you know, it's been a really great weekend so far.
Congratulations and thank you.
Very calm, very composed is Akshay Bora, but you can sense the disappointment in his face. He is satisfied with P3, but it's not the perfect result for him. Quick look at the results. Cooper Webster, your second race winner in Indian Formula 4. Benefiting a lot from the reverse grid, but putting in a very good shift to make sure that he wins this race. Rishon Rajiv, he started P5, he's ended up in P2. A great drive for the youngster from Bangalore, finishing in P2. Akshay Bora for Godspeed Kochi, he was P1 yesterday, P3 today, and a huge shout out to Shahan Ali Mohsin as well in P4. But my heart goes out to Rishabh Jain. He was in the fight for a podium at the start of this race as he got hit by Rishon Rajiv. It would have been fun to see him up there, but I get a feeling he'll be back up at the top of the grid when we come back later this afternoon for another race as well. Let's go downstairs to Niharika, who's standing by with Rishon Rajiv, who finished second in this race.
A third place, but a very chaotic start to the race. Can you walk us through what it was like?
Yeah, I think it was a good start for me personally. Made up two positions into turn one, which was good. It was promising. It was P3, and then the guy in P2 made a small mistake out of the long D, and then I got close, and then I just missed my braking point, and then we collided. Unfortunately for him, I'm sorry. I could have avoided it. It was my mistake. But then other than that, the pace was good. It was promising. We had the fastest lap also. And for the overall race, I think I used the tires a bit too much in the start, which cost us tire temperatures. It was too hot in the last few laps, and Akshay was able to catch up to me. But then I think there's still work to do. We can analyze what happened in this race, and hopefully race 3 starting P2, we can do better.
Thank you so much and congratulations again.
That was Rishabh Rajiv. Very good on him to apologize for that mistake he made as he hit Rishabh Jain in the mid-part of that race. He's a very good kid. He'll always come out there and admit if it's his mistake. Yeah, good stuff to see Rishabh Rajiv. But yeah, incredible battle that he had as well at the end. And I like that he's very calm and composed at the end of it all, getting another opportunity to make things right when he has another race later on in the afternoon. So that's that, folks. That is the end of race number 2 of the Indian Formula 4 Championship. And yeah, eventually in a couple of seconds' time, we will go to the podium as we celebrate the winners of this race with Cooper Webster in first, Akshay Bora, and also Rishabh Rajiv. Lots of people turning into the Madras International Circuit finally. It's a hot, hot day. And the circuit, remember, is a couple of hours away from the main city. So great to see fans coming in here just to watch the racing action today. Yes, they're all just warming up so far, but when we get the other Formula 4 races and also the Indian Racing League action beginning, trust me, everyone will be on their feet. This is the Indian Racing Festival. We've got the Indian Formula 4 Championship and also the Indian Racing League here as well. Lots and lots of track action has come so far, and there's more yet to come as well, as we've done one race of the Indian Racing League earlier this morning, won by Ruhan Alva as he became the youngest race winner in this championship's history. And then we now have Cooper Webster winning for the Chennai Turbo Riders and giving the fans a big home win. Here's a look at the winning moment, taking the checkered flag, Cooper Webster. He was precise as he could have been, and then Rishabh Rajiv taking second ahead of Akshay Bora. Very measured, very delicate, and very, very smart in his driving. Cooper Webster, a driver who uses his brain quite a lot while racing, and you can tell with this performance. Here we go to the podium. We have Cooper Webster racing for the Chennai Turbo Riders in P1 as the Australian national anthem goes off in the background. Moment to see the Australian national anthem being played on the grid for Cooper Webster. Reminds me a lot of the days when Mark Webber used to win Formula One races. So good to hear this. And here's the winning moment for Cooper Webster as he crossed the finish line to become the second ever winner in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. Lots and lots and lots of learnings for these young drivers as they get tons of valuable track time and build up their skills on their journey towards the higher echelons of single-seater racing. And for Cooper Webster, he got the reverse grid pole and he made it work. So then we've got so much more track action as we see the drivers on the podium. Rishon Rajiv with his second place trophy on the left. Akshay Bora with his third place trophy on the right, representing the Godspeed Kochi team. And now for the winner's trophy for the home team, the Chennai Turbo Riders. It's Cooper Webster, your winner for race 2 of the Indian Formula 4 Championship.
Guys, lift your trophies. Akshay, lift your. Akshay, lift your. I'm the winning engineer.
And it's Cooper's lead mechanic with him as well to celebrate this big win. Look at the smiles. There wasn't a big smile when he got out of the car, but when you see your mechanics with you, cheering you on, giving you all that support, it must be such a heartwarming moment. But Rishon's not interested for a photo, is he? There we are, the winners of this race coming together for the ceremonial picture.
Don't forget to spray everybody, maybe not yourselves.
Plenty more action coming up at the Indian Racing Festival as we have another race for the Indian Racing League coming up later on this afternoon, along with race number 3 for the Indian F4 Championship, where Akshay Bora will be on pole position as the champagne pops out. There we go. That's more like it. To be honest, technically Akshay Bora shouldn't be able to hold the champagne because he's only 16, but we don't care. It's totally all right. But great to see the drivers celebrating yet another great race. But stay right here, folks, on the Indian Racing League YouTube channel. There'll be race 3 for the Indian F4 Championship and race 2 for the Indian Racing League coming up from the Madras International Circuit. My name is Samal Arora, and we'll be back with more right here.